How do you sleep? Where do you sleep? These are the things I feel like I got so much from monkhood. And through this understanding, I wanted to take the time to share this. So maybe it can help someone out there who is struggling with this. How do you sleep? Where do you sleep? These are the things I feel like I got so much from monkhood. And through this understanding, I wanted to take the time to share this. So maybe it can help someone out there who is struggling with this. Sleep for me, back in my lay life, was such a big issue. For many years, I never had quality sleep. It became a problem, and I knew it was a problem, was because for me, I would have to take sleeping medication, sleep aids for 5 years. But when I went to monkhood, instantly, all of that disappeared. When they taught me how to do it properly, then my issue of sleep just disappeared completely. So today, I wanted to reveal how they taught us, especially as new monks in the beginning, how to sleep. And maybe you can apply some of these tools to your life to improve your sleep as well. The thing that monkhood does so well is they teach you how to do things for its intended purpose. So for example, the bedroom. The bedroom is for sleep. And when we first came into monkhood, they gave us a tent. And in this tent, there was nothing else. All we have is very simple. We had, I believe, like a blue yoga mat that was very thin, not comfortable at all. For our pillow, we had our set of robes. That includes this robe, the sankati that we wear over the main robe. And then also we wrap it with a yellow belt, the belt that a chest belt. So we wrap it very nicely, and then we use that as a pillow. So it's interesting because when you sleep on this, it actually flattens it. So it's kind of like our iron. So it serves two purposes. Our robes are very pressed, and then secondly, we use it as a pillow. For monks, we have two sets of robes, and then the other one we would use as a blanket. So again, we have our pillow with the robes. We have another robe that we use to cover ourselves as a blanket, and then we're sleeping on a thin mat, and that's what our bed consisted of. This for us was important because back home in our bedroom, it's so cluttered. People use the bedroom as their living room. This is where some of us eat. I don't know, for those watching, how many of you are guilty with this, where you're on your computer, where you do your office work in your bedroom, where you're also eating, you're chatting on the phone, you're watching TV. So this room that's designed for sleep, it's now a multi-purpose room, and we use it for everything, from an office to a living room to a dining room, and we mix and match. So when we do, and when it's time to go to sleep, then it impacts our sensory. So it trains us that it's time to be active and it's time to think. Simply having that environment, it trains our minds that when you walk into your bedroom, in our case it's a tent, that it's time to go to sleep. Nothing else, and it trains your mind to already be there, to be still, and it develops that habit. Another tip that we learned is, again, I shared with you where the bed of a monk is not comfortable. One of our precepts is that we don't sleep on a high, luxurious bed. When I first heard this, I'm like, I don't understand. How does this have to do with anything? But again, in monk training, a lot of things at the beginning does not make sense, but now it makes complete sense. One of the habits that we fight with often is laziness. And back home, for me in Malibu, where I have a nice bed, a comfortable bed, a luxurious bed, when it's my blanket was goose feather, so the pillow was goose feather, and when it's that comfortable, you don't want to leave. But in monkhood, it was the opposite. where when you have the thin yoga mat that is not so comfortable, when you don't have the fluffy pillow and blanket, when it's time to wake up, you just get up. You're not in there laying around just wasting the rest of the day, but really when you sleep on something that is so basic, it helps you to fight that urge of being lazy. So for us, again, like I said, having a thin, low bed on the ground, it's easier when you wake up to get your stuff, go out, and you're ready to start your day. So try that. And this is the last tip that I want to offer you, and I feel like it's the most important. And I never understood this. When I first came to monkhood, one of the factors of why I was struggling with sleep was because I don't know how I came across this, but before sleeping, I would take that moment to reflect, but I did it incorrectly, was that I reflected on my problems. I thought of the issues that I had throughout the day. I thought of the work items that I needed to do for the next day. I thought of some conflicts. I thought of some disagreements. And for me, I would take this moment laying in bed and just taking an hour, sometimes 2 hours, and reflecting. What can I do differently? How can I change this? And I remember coming to monkhood and I asked my teaching monk, I'm like, I think I've been going to bed wrong. Do you have any tips for me of how to do this? And it was so kind because the teaching monk just kind of chuckled a little bit, not to make fun of me or anything, but he chuckled and he was like, oh, wow. He's like, that's not how you reflect. And two, that's also the wrong time to reflect. I was under the impression that each day I should just think about these things and then how will I do it differently the following day, so to change the habit. But for my teaching monk, he was saying, no, do you know that the last thing that you think about when you go to bed is automatically the first thing you think about when you wake up the next day? So here we are, and this is many people around the world, maybe you can relate to it, was you sit or you lay down in bed, it's evening time, you think about your problems all evening, and finally you're able to go to sleep. The next morning you wake up, and the first thing you think about is that exact same problem. So really, you barely slept, you didn't even have a good night's sleep, and again, your thought pattern continued. So this sounds a bit cheesy in the beginning, but for me, I'm just simply sharing it because it was transformative. It changed my whole sleep pattern. One of the things that they teach us, or the thing that they teach us, is really to sleep in a sea of merit. And what that means is to think about, not reflecting about your problems, but actually contemplating about the good deeds that you've done for that day. Things that made you feel proud. Especially in monkhood, we always make a habit to improve ourselves. We're doing morning chanting, we're doing evening chanting, we do alms round that in the morning that gives the lay people an opportunity to give. We give blessings, we clean the temple, we're doing chores to help with the community. We're helping our neighbors. We're memorizing chanting.